that's what I like, just the lure of the water. You just see it glimmering and you just need to get in. It's freezing cold, but just for a moment, just to get in. So started to really explore. I only live up the road, so trying to walk to places, have a quick dip and then walk back, it's just lovely. I love it, yeah. I tend to do that on my own, so yeah, I'm just completely free, and yeah, it's just a very lovely thing to do. Yeah, free, and there's like nothing but water ahead.
So there is a little coombe a little ways up around the Postbridge area, and twice when we've walked there we have found horses that have been killed whilst drinking out of a small stream, and both horses had their heads hanging still in the water, throat ripped out, like neck broken, and then they'd been eaten, like the side of them had been eaten, and one had a leg missing, and full-grown Dartmoor ponies. Maybe they just went for a drink and dropped down dead, but just the way that the injuries were on it were really, quite horrible actually. My story is connected to my job now as a herbalist. Basically, about 8 years ago, I got very poorly with post-viral fatigue, and I wasn't really able to walk anywhere. It used to take me about an hour to walk about a quarter of a mile, and I was determined to kind of get better. And walking on Dartmoor seemed to be a really great way to do that. And on the map, I saw that there was a meadow at the other end of the river, and it became my goal to get there. And I was like, I'm going to get there. And it seems crazy to me now because I can walk that in half an hour now. I'm just like, but I was, so finally after 6 weeks, I got to this meadow, and it just so happened to be in June, and it was full of meadowsweet, like literally a meadow of meadowsweet. And I had no idea what this flower was, but you can smell the medicine, and I just knew that I was like, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I need. And I took it home, looked it up, and I saw that it was very close to the medicine that I needed, and within 6 weeks I was off 2 of my medicines. I was getting better. I was, and I was just like, this plant grows in ditches, and I want to do this for other people. So it started this whole thing. But that area of Dunsford had already become, because I've been walking it every day nearly, I think I got to know it so well. The mouse that lived in a certain beech tree became familiar to me, and I'd stop and give him a mini cheddar and he would actually come out and take it. It literally became like that. And so after I had the meadowsweet and I was still getting better, my next goal became the hill behind. Then I did, and I fell asleep because I was exhausted. And when I woke up, so I'm going to cry. When I woke up, there was a deer herd just around me, grazing around me. Sorry. I'm crying now. So that became, to me, it became what I used to call like the mother heath. That's what I used to call it, and I used to walk there. And it's such a common place that everyone's been to Dunsford. But because of its safety and everything, that became my place of healing.
So I grew up in Greater London. I moved to Devon when I was just coming up for 14. And when I'm at Dartmoor, I was presented with these tours, these great vistas, these high points, and all of it was walkable. And suddenly I found this space where I could walk through valleys, walk next to rivers, climb on tops of tors. I could see buzzards and peregrines flying above me, and I'd seen the widest space that I'd ever seen in my life. And then my life started with Dartmoor, and that was the beginning of a deep relationship. So suddenly I had this whole ancient playground compared to this urban landscape that I'd grown up in. It was all on my own. Yeah.
We always used to come on family holidays to Dartmoor. Or my parents loved Dartmoor. And I just, when I was a kid, I just loved everything about Dartmoor. The sort of magic of it never left me. I used to love scrambling up the tors, going for long walks. But for me, I think it's the sort of desolateness of it and the bleakness of it that I love. I learned about it at school as well, the geology of it, so that's really interesting. The whole of Dartmoor is a dome of, I think it's granite, which was formed by a big magma chamber rising up. And it was then populated with trees and grass and whatever, and that all eroded, leaving the tors, which is volcanic rock. And again, that's unique. I don't think there's anywhere like that in the world. When I was a teenager, I came with a friend and his family, and we stayed near Tavistock, and we went on a huge walk, me and my friend. We were only about 13, 14. I've forgotten where it is, this place that we went, and I've never been able to find it again. And I remember we found an old quarry that was full of water that I went swimming in, naked. And it was raining and really cold, and we built a fire in an old farmhouse to warm up afterwards, you know. And then nearby we found a valley, and that's the place I'd like to find again. It was a valley that was full of dead trees and skulls everywhere, and we found it. The reason we knew they were dead trees was because we were talking, and while we were talking, I leant on a very large tree and it fell over. And we then realised that all the trees in this valley were dead, and I had no idea why. And so we had a bit of fun pushing some more trees over, collecting some skulls. And then we drank from a stream and walked upstream. Around the next corner there was an extremely dead sheep that was rotting, and that was the water that we had just drunk from the sheep. So, and all of those things all happened in the same day, in the same place, and I've never been able to work out where that place was, and that was 40 years ago.
Well, this is a bit like it shouldn't happen to a ranger. Back in 1988, I was a seasonal ranger based at Park in Bovey Tracey, and I was asked to go and move on some New Age travellers who had stopped at two bridges. And this particular group of travellers were known locally as the Brew Crew. And I wasn't really looking forward to this. I knew it was going to be a stressful situation, be asking them a load of drunk travellers to move on. So anyway, I was driving along the main road, and to my great surprise, just approaching two bridges, two women came clambering over a dry stone wall, dressed in nothing but their knickers. And I could hardly believe my eyes. So I thought, well, this is not normal behaviour. So I'll stop and see if they're okay. And there were two women. There was a middle-aged one who was laughing her head off, and a young one who was trying to be as modest as she possibly could be and cover herself with her arms. And I just sort of said, you know, what's happening here? Is Sid James going to come around the corner any minute? It was just like something out of a Carry On film. What had happened was they'd been sunbathing, and some curious bullocks had come and frightened them, and that's why they climbed over the wall with next to nothing on. I just sort of moved the bullocks away while these two women got dressed, and then went on their way. And by that time, the travellers had moved anyway, so it was a rather fun afternoon rather than a stressful one. So that's my little anecdote of